Girls would come to my house and go, this is weird. Like, why do you have 2 rooms stacked top to bottom with sneakers? Did you ever see me not fresh? That's why I'm always fresh. Why do you have 40 leather jackets? Because I'm always fresh. Why do you have 100 pair of jeans? Why do you have all of that? Because I'm about being fresh. What you about? Why you here? You here because you seen me and I was fresh.
So we are talking about female representation in sneakers. In the last year or so, a lot of larger brands, especially Nike and Jordan, have taken initiative to approach women and sneakers in a new way. Seems a little late to me.
It's natural for that market to kind of capitalize on a cultural movement that's happening. Women have been wearing sneakers for, quite some time now, and I think it's finally getting the recognition that it needs from like the bigger brands to really push forward in terms of design and sizing to give female clients the same sneakers that they've always wanted in their own sizes.
And I think it's interesting it's happening now because women have always been the driving consumer market. Most stores that they go into, at least 60% are women shopping. I think right now why it's so relevant is because now women are buying sneakers, as before they were buying sneakers but more for like sportswear.
But have either of you ever had the experience that you saw a pair of sneakers that was coming out and you really wanted them, but they weren't available in your size?
Totally.
Can you talk to me sort of like what that feels like as a consumer?
Because you're not being spoken to as a woman, it's a little bit, oh, this is a boys club, like you can't join. And I think that attitude, that mentality was always very hurtful to their business. And I just wanted what was offered to the boys. I didn't want the shrink it and pink it version of whatever was coming out.
Just even listening to Jackie refer to herself as a woman versus the boys club, I think that's a testament to the fact that our industry needs to change. I think that when men or women are designing sneakers, it should never be a gender specific thing.
Having these sorts of experiences where you get cut off from what it is that you want, or you see a culture that you feel has placed you outside of it. Do you think that either for you personally or have you ever seen that sort of curtails the potential interest in what a female consumer could do? So many male sneakerheads, that interest is ignited in preteen. If a girl comes to it, a younger girl, and then she learns pretty quick, oh, I'm not allowed to be a part of this. Do you think that could change like the trajectory of their interests and therefore has removed an entire market?
That's a really tough question for me because I grew up always loving sneakers. I grew up in a super small town in Alaska, and like what was really big there was basketball. So like basketball culture's always been a part of my life since I was 5 years old, I would say. It's hard to put myself outside of that and have that conversation because I can't give you an unbiased answer.
Sure.
I've always been in the sneaker culture, and I really have to say thanks to my basketball coach, I think. Like wearing my first Huaraches, wearing my first pair of Hyper Dunks, eventually graduating to a Jordan, and then realizing like I can't actually play in Jordans because they don't really support my ankles. So it's like
totally.
That mentality of like always being within the culture, it's hard to step outside of that. But I mean, my advice for like young women who want to be a part of the sneaker game is like, don't let men stop you. This is no longer a men's game.
But also I looked at all the shoes that they designed specifically for women, especially on the Jordan brand side. And I think they're cool. They're like elevated and they're not, like I said, shrink it and pink it versions of what they were. And I think there's like more of a history and an integrity behind it where they're looking at, like a female foot or like the way that women's bodies are built. Maybe it's a little bit different than men's and kind of designing around that last instead of just doing something else.
I'm hoping that you're starting to get the picture, that there's more to women's sneaker culture than just the old shrink it and pink it model, and the overall lack of dope product being accessible to women, despite what the market is demanding. In 2017, high heel sales fell by 11%, while sneaker sales grew by 37%. The numbers don't lie. But women's product is still not at the same consistent release quality or quantity of most male branded products. One of the main issues is perception. But newsflash, it's not about approval. We wear sneakers because we like sneakers. I've worked in sneakers and sports for over 15 years, and I still get asked, did your brothers get you into shoes? And when I've designed shoes, some of my male followers assumed it was a women's only release purely because of my anatomy. These assumptions are insulting, unfair, and quite frankly, lazy. In publications, there's often only room left for one woman, and she's expected to represent all of womankind that is into footwear. This leads to either a very generic or very narrow point of view, or men telling women what they should like, wear, and how they should consume sneaker content. This same idea is reflected in product, when only one generic woman is targeted, often leading to designs that are pink, delicate, and basic. Women's lines are almost always treated as an afterthought, and when those of us who want what the men get, like a classic re-release or a dope quick strike colorway, we have to pray that it comes in a grade school size. Women are more than just this male-made perception, dreamed up often by white men who have no connection to authentic footwear voices. We're seeing the beginning of this concept now with Nike starting to label product unisex, with both women's and men's size on the same label. The fact that this was cause for celebration is very telling. It needs to be reflected in editorial, in product, and on Instagram. In all facets, women don't need your cosign, but we do need more access, a chance to change perceptions, and the opportunity to get a little more heat.